Welcome back. So I am going to be putting this Singer 66 Red Eye back together. And if you saw the first video, she was quite grungy. She had that very wrinkly finish that basically where the clear layer, the old shellac layer had just, you know, gotten thick with oil and crumpled up and everything. So I got all of that smoothed out, cleaned up the best I could, and then put a clear coat on her. Now, I did not show my actual cleaning process. There's a few reasons. One of them is because my camera battery had died and it was overheating, and I was honestly just in the mood to put on some music and get to work, and I can't do that with the camera rolling because, you know, copyright strikes and stuff. But I'll give you a quick synopsis of what I did, and then we'll just move on from there. Now, know that what I tell you, do if you want to, don't do if you want to, but don't yell at me, okay? And this is my general plan, but if I come upon a spot that needs extra attention, I may veer off track. But in general, when I have a grungy machine, the first thing I do is smear 𝐥𝐤𝐤 all over it, wait just about a minute, and then wipe it all off, okay? And that gets the surface gunk off, but it leaves it kind of greasy. And because I clear coat my machines when I'm done cleaning them, I can't leave it like that. And at that point, the crinkliness and everything, that's still here. So what I do then is I use a combination of these two, okay, just regular rubbing alcohol, this is 70%, and citral. This is a Schaefer product. Now, what I do is I get a little dish, pour a little splash of alcohol, a squirt of this. There's no exact proportion, but I find that just doing a little bit at a time with a cloth or a paper towel, or if you're working over a sensitive area like the decals, a Q-tip, and rub that on. And the alcohol will break down the old shellac, but I want it to because the old shellac was nasty and crinkled and holding a lot of bad stuff and very, very dark, okay? But that mixed with a squirt of this, which it's fabulous. It smells like orange oil. It's really nice. It does a really great job cleaning it up and getting it ready for painting. So that by the time I'm done with this, I want my entire upper part of my machine, I'm not really worried about the lower, but my upper part machine to be as clean as possible, as smooth as possible, and no oil, no grease, okay? Because that's when I go ahead and mask it up to paint, take it in there and clear coat it. Now I used my spray gun Finish 1 automotive clear coat, but if you don't have a paint gun and everything like that, diamond coat that you can get on Amazon or whatever will work really well too. Okay, so with that in a nutshell, let's go ahead and get her put back together. Okay, I actually want to get started by putting her up on her nose. My little block here. And I'm going to be dealing with her whole stitch length system. So let me go ahead and get all of this stuff. I need to figure out new camera placement. I rearranged my workspace, so trying to figure out the right angles here. Okay, I need to be putting this fork in here and it needs its little bearing, but excuse me, grab some oil, put on here, maybe this way. There you go. Okay, I'm going to put a little oil up here in the slides. Down there just for fun. Okay. Now I need to slide this in this direction. Come on. Aren't you going in, dear? Hang on. Okay, I need to turn this a little bit to get it out of the way. And move it all the way up. And if you can see, I need to turn you on. Hang on. There's a light. Okay, if you can see, that's the fork there that I just moved in. All right, now there is also this block. This is also now nice and clean. Put some oil in the sides here. And that is going to need, well, here, I'll pull it out again so you can see. This block fits over this bearing. Okay. This was very tight getting off. Okay, it has to slide on from that direction. On this one, that's just how it's made. From the outside, there's a hole here that, put that little 3-pronged washer underneath here, of course, and it's going to go through the casting and screw in here. Okay, so it's going to be like that. But I have to just kind of wiggle and manipulate it from looking in this little hole and from there to get it in. Now, at the same time that I'm pushing that in, I'm just going to kind of set it here. I'm going to grab a paper towel and kind of shove it in the side here to keep that fork from wanting to fall off while I'm doing stuff. Now over on this side, I have my stitch length knob, and I need to get that put in. Put a bit of oil on these threads. Okay, so that as that is in a little bit, there's a gap at the very end of this thing, and that's where that little block is going to be setting in. So for me, this is the worst job on these old machines, especially the ones with the screw-in stitch length. Such a pain, and I can imagine in the Singer factories, when you'd been bad, they'd put you on the line to put these in, because it's that tricky. But anyway, for me, the trick is I get my fork set in there. Again, I've got my paper towel holding it so that it's not going to go falling cattywampus. Then getting the little block up there with the magnet and having your stitch length knob screwed in just enough that there's a complete opening that that little nub at this bottom end of that block can slide onto. And then very carefully holding that nub with a magnet while you try to manipulate the fork up onto the cog, and sometimes you have to turn this so because it's shaped different up on top, so that it's in just the right position so that when you're looking through here, you can see the little threaded opening. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put my little 3-pronged washer on there and the bolt and try to get it all screwed together before anything moves. Okay, so with that in, you should be able to screw in and out this knob and be able to see this move back and forth and all of that. This machine is old, 1916 or something, and it is from a treadle cabinet, but it does have a boss, so you could technically put on a hand crank or a motor, so that's cool. Okay, I'm just going to leave it screwed in all the way. Actually, while I have her up like this, I am going to go ahead and put her wheel back on. So just throwing some oil around again, because I did clean everything up. Squeaky clean, but you know. Okay, now putting this washer back on with the prongs facing, oops, wait, what am I doing? I need the wheel, hang on a sec. Okay, the wheel was also cleaned up and clear coated, not repainted, but cleaned up and clear coated. Okay, making sure all is good. Oopsie, sorry about that, and it is. So now, putting my washer on with the prongs up. And hang on. Getting this turned on. And get this little screw put into place. Move you over here out of the way. Did I tell you I rearranged my room in here this morning, my work area of it? We did get the AC put in. Oops, I need to flip that washer the other way. Hang on, I'll show you why. Hang on, and then I'll complete my thought on why I rearranged my room. But remember, this screw was right here, okay? That screw was right on top of that nub, which would not work. So what I need to do is rotate it this way and put this back in, and now it should work. Okay. But anyway, we did get air conditioning put in here a week and a half or so ago, and it's been fabulous. But the way I had this set up, I had my big cleaning work table has a big wall on it, and it was blocking the air, so I rearranged so that that would not be an issue. Okay. Down here, I also have this clamping screw, and I'm just going to get it started so I don't lose it. But I'm going to need to get the big rock shaft in to connect this to. So let me go ahead and lay her down on her back, and we'll go to the next part. All right, so I just put her up onto my little block. I'm going to tighten her little hinge screws here just so she doesn't go flying off, because we do not want that to happen. Okay, let me get out the rock shaft that's going to go up here, because that is what this is going to be connecting to. Okay, so up here where this little divot is, that's where these two little knuckles are going to be going. And when I cleaned her, I did oil her up and everything in here too, but can't hurt to add a little bit more while it's there and handy. Those are little pivot points there. And then on each side, put a little oil for those pivot points. Okay, I'm just going to kind of set this in here and get these started. To hold her up and in place. Let me put one over here. I will probably need to make an adjustment on this position later, but for right now I just want to get it in so it's going to hold up. Slight bit of movement, not bound up. Okay, now let me put a bit of oil in here. That's my nano oil, and get this big bolt, which is, oh, there you go, eccentric. It is an adjustment point. This is the bolt that adjusts the forward to backward adjustment point on the feed dogs when they're in the little slot of the plate. So if your feed dogs are too far forward or too far back, this is the adjustment you would make. Just loosen up this nut and then turn this screw head to the position that works for you. And again, this is a position that I will adjust later. And I'm just going to go ahead and put these on, not cinch them yet, just to keep me from losing them, really, more than anything. I don't even know why this is giving me so much trouble. I wonder if one of the threads is screwed up. One of these was really, really stuck, and I had to actually pull the screw off by threading it all the way, pull the nut off by threading it all the way down. And that's making me think one of these upper threads are messed up. Even though it doesn't look like it. But you know what I'm going to do? Let's do it backwards. Screw this way, all the way up, and then put it back in. Just because it was not behaving well. Okay, so now with it almost all the way up to the top, now I'm going to go ahead and put it back in. Do what you need to do. Okay, I've got all my little bags out here. turn you down a bit. That's the phone. Okay. So what I have here is this piece. Now this little bearing here is going to travel inside that fork or slot, whatever we're calling it. So I'm going to put some good oil in there. Oil everywhere. Okay. Pop this in place, and then there's a little hole in the casting right here that, again, a little oil in there, that this bolt is going to go through and tighten up to. Okay, let me get that tightened on. Okay, so while that is there, I'm going to turn the wheel and make sure everything is working smoothly. And it is. Remember how locked up she was in the beginning? She's going to be a happy girl. Before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and get my feed dogs. No, you know what? Why would I do that? I'm not putting on my feed dogs. I have to do all kinds of stuff before that. Forget I said that. I'm going to get this bar out here. And it is all disassembled, but remember when I took her apart, if you saw that video, over on this side, this is going to be traveling in here. Now I'm wondering, I probably should have put this on first. I'm just not thinking straight here. Hang on. I'm going to take this off for right now. You know where it goes. Just because it's going to make it really tight putting this other piece on. That's the phone. Okay. Let me go ahead and put some oil in here, but I cannot put this on until I get this on, because the screw that was holding it together was bolted from the bottom. So let me get myself organized. I got a lot of bolts here to sort through, and we'll put it together. Okay, so I have this bar, and on this one there's a flat side and a round side. The flat side is visible, so this is going to be on here like that. Can't put it on quite yet, because with this facing so that the little clampy side is towards the outside edge of the machine, this is going to go on top over here, and I need to find the big screw. I believe it is this one that's going to go through here and secure it up here. And I know it's this screw because the shouldered part of it is the same thickness as this, even though I just screwed my glove in, okay? And the thread part, well, that does not come all the way up. Hang on a second. That's not the right screw, apparently. Hang on, hang on. I remember those threads going all the way through. So let's try this one. Same big shouldered screw, okay, going all the way through. And actually, let's throw some oil in there. Should do. Okay, now those threads look a lot better. So if this is here, this is going to be like that. Oh my gosh, this comes. All right, starting over. This is this way with the clamps towards the outside. This is coming up from the bottom. This is like that. Okay, I have to kind of hold it in position so I can realize what I'm doing here. So we're going to get this screwed in, make sure, because I remember that this screw, the end of it came all the way flush with the top of this piece. So yes, that looks a lot better. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just pop this on here for right now. And see this? Hang on. All right. Not popping it on there like that, because what I want to do is make sure this post is, it's very dirty and greasy. Old penetrating oil I put on there. Okay, put some clean nano oil on it. Get this piece on like this. This piece on down here. And the same time making sure if I turn the wheel, things are moving well. And they are. Great. I'm going to go ahead and get this piece put back on. I should be able to slide it down in here. Did not want to slide into place for some reason. But it's in there now. All right. Sorry if it was off center there. Okay, so let me go ahead and get this bolt back in. Tighten it up over here. I know I've done a lot of 66s and like a lot of 27s and 66s, but lots of people have them. They're very common and they're fabulous machines, so I don't mind, you know, redoing stuff. But I have a playlist that's 66 restoration, and I have like 3 different machines videos in there, so if you're watching this and this doesn't answer your question, maybe one of the others will. Okay, so we have this piece, looks like a little telephone. This is the clamp for the end of the hook that's going to come down through there. And I need to find a screw for this that's going to go all the way through. And that is it. The other ones that I have in this section are too short. Those are the ones for these 2 clamps. So, you know. So I'm just going to get this started in, but I'm not going to close it up because I need to be able to get in there. So, setting this. Like this. Okay. And this is going to come on top here like that. And this screw with the shorter threads coming in here. And you know what? I'm going to put some oil on that and oil in here. Okay. Okay, so that is cinched in all the way, and if I hold this in place, I should still be able to move things easily, and I can, so that's good. I'm going to go ahead and get this put on. I have the little set screw started, but it's not cinched in all the way. Okay, turning this. I turn it all the way until it's on really hard, and then I back it off a bit just so it's not bound up. And I need a different screwdriver. So let me grab a different. Tip. Oh, that's too big also. Hang on. Okay, this set screw is going up against a flat part on, or a part of this shaft that didn't have any threads, so it should lock in. Everything still turns freely. Okay, I'm going to put this little flat screw, getting my screw starter here. Get this little flat screw put on. Okay, that is cinched up, and then I have these little clamping screws on these. One side is slightly bigger than the other. The side that is slightly bigger is where the head of the screw goes. So this one gets started from this side, and this one should from this side, and with the handy dandy access hole just for the purpose, you know. So let me go ahead and get in here. Crank it. After you clamp or tighten up these clamping screws, give it a spin again, because if you have them too tight, it might bog down the machine. But that's still going well. Okay, so we are good. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get the hook out so that we can get this little piece put into place. Now, if you remember, she was quite the mess. Very, very, very rusty. But miracle of miracles, I got her all cleaned up, fresh wick. I had to replace the spring. It actually looks like it's out a bit. There was just a couple fragments of the old spring. And I need to get oil on here. This is for lubricating the hook as it travels. So I'm just going to put that on there to think about itself. In this little part of the casting here, throw some oil in there. And I'm going to line this piece up with that hole. Then from the upper side, up here, get this started pushing down. Okay, and it comes all the way down to the bottom here. All right. Now this is when I'm getting the hook timed up later, this screw here, once you have this in its right position, and I'll show you that from the top, you're going to come back and tighten this screw up to hold it there, okay? For right now, I'm just going to get it tight enough that I can still move the hook around, but the screw's not going to fall out, and that way I can just come back and there. It's still moving, but it's a bit slower now. So, but when I'm actually setting it, I probably won't show you, but I'll be coming back in here once I have that in the right position and just crank the screw so it'll hold it in place. Okay, let me flip her down so we can put the top part of all of this back in. Move things off to the side. Bring this down. Get a block up here to put under that foot. Okay. Up here, I'm just going to add some oil there because why not? First, I'm going to get this positioning bracket set in. That little, very oily little thing, felt piece there, is what is going to keep the race lubricated. So every now and then go back in and get that moistened up. I think I put too much oil in there. I think I went a little overboard. I was overzealous with the oil bottle, but you know, that's okay. All right. Now there's this piece, and it does have the little spring. When you are working with your bobbin and you need to adjust the bobbin tension, this screw right here, the bigger one, the one that's in the little ring, that is the adjustment screw. Okay, I don't even know what I have it set at right now. Hopefully just kind of medium, but I will be adjusting that too. So I just put this in. It's not cinched in because this is an old school kind. Actually, I'm going to take it out, where I'm going to have to kind of move this over to the side. This little fork goes over that bump, and they wiggle back in place down here. Okay, and then this prong right here on this bracket goes into this slot right up here. This is the old style. Ah, look at that. This whole spring is coming out. Let me pull this out and adjust that spring. It was sticking out way too much. And fix that. I should have fixed that before. Oh my. Hang on a sec. Okay. So now that all of that is in there, let me get this screw started. And I need to look right here in between these two for a position that I need to get open to just the right amount that a piece of thread will pass through, but it's not going to wiggle too much. Actually, I take that back. This is an old school Singer, and usually this bolt just is the bracket that holds it on. On other ones, there's a secondary screw right here. That screw that's right here is the screw of death. This one does not have one. So it is what it is. You put it on, you tighten it up, and that is what it is. So that's cool. Just ignore all my greasy handprints. I will wipe all that off before I'm done. But I'm going to flip it back under. Actually, no. What I'm going to do now is just skip ahead and come up here and put the needle bar and presser bar on, because once I have the needle bar in, then I can get this hook timed up to the right position. Okay, so before I get those two bars put on, I'm going to put my little lifter lever on. And it's going to slide in like this on the side with this little thing swooping downwards. I think that's probably not the technical word. Come back here and grab the screwdriver I want. Okay, so I'm getting this started. Again, I did link my screw starters Amazon link below. They're fabulous. Okay. So let me get that cinched on. Ooh, wrong screwdriver head or tip. It'll work for right now. Now again, this is one that you should be able to cinch in all the way and still have good movement here, okay? If it's stuck, do it again. All right, let me get some of the needle bar stuff out and get that organized. Okay, so I had to clean up in here because it's still a bit dirty. We've got a lot of pieces going on here. This bigger one is going to line up with that hole in the casting up there. It's a threaded hole. This bottom part here is what I'm sticking this little piece through, okay? And I have my gloves on because everything's very oily. Paying attention to where that flat side is, and then I'm going to put this over the little part that's sticking out here, okay? So with that, I'm going to push this part into that hole and get it all pushed in, okay? It should feel nice. Remember the thread, the head of the screw is over here of this piece. Need to grab this big screw, stick it through here, and get that cinched up as much as possible. All right, so I have this screw tightened in, and that's good. Again, it's not turning all the way because of the bracket down below isn't in the right position, but this is good enough for right now. This, I have the little screw in the back started, but if you look through, it's not protruding yet, which is good. I'm just going to stick that in here, actually. I'm going to put some oil in there first, of course. Stick this in like that. And go ahead and get the needle dropped through. Now I have not put this set screw in yet. I kind of want this needle to hold it for just a moment, or this bar to hold it for just a moment. Just want to wiggle her down just a little bit. Okay, now over here on this side is that threaded hole that I need to get moved up into position. So, oh my goodness, okay. What was bumping in the way is this thing was bumping over here because this was not anywhere near the right position. So I'm just holding it here. If you remember, right over here is where the flat part is. And I have a set screw right here. I need to get started from this outside, going in like can feel where it starts. I think it's here. And I want to make sure that flat part is aiming where I am. So I'm just kind of sticking it over here. Watching to see if it cinches up as I get closer. There it goes. See that turning on its own there? That was the flat part cinching on there. Just see where that, there it is. All right, now holding this and cinching it. Okay. There goes. All right. I will, what's impeding it is down below. We'll just move this stuff out of the way. I have too much junk down there. Okay. So I'm going to pop this back on. And putting the needle bar down. Oh, before I do that, I need to put this screw back on. Now this is a reverse threaded screw. Okay, so it is righty-loosey, a lefty-tighty. Just to confuse me. Okay. So that is on there now. And now the needle bar, this part back here where the little screw is coming through, that screw should be up against this flat part. Like, so there's the flat part there, like that. Okay, that's how I'm gonna want it to be. So as you can see, well, I'm gonna pull it back off. There's not much space there. Usually I only have about that much peeking out the top here, just like a fat millimeter or so when it's lined up right. Okay. So again, I'm just gonna stick this in, bring this down. And as it comes down, this flat part needs to go towards the back. I'm going to push it down so I only have about a millimeter, fat millimeter or so sticking out, okay? Down here, the groove side of the needle should be sticking out and visible over here. So then, I can come back through this hole here and cinch up that needle bar. When I'm timing it up, if I need to lower it, I can. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put the stuff on. Oops, I did not get that tightened up enough because this is still moving. But I'm going to go ahead and put the little thread guide and the needle clamp on because I can go ahead and time up the hook at this point. Hang on. That is nowhere near tight. I don't know why I stopped turning it before. Okay. All right. So this thread guide, there's a little hole back here. See if the needle was going on like this. And hang on. Let me just get this so I can turn it and look over here. Up here, I put this on before I put the needle clamp on because it just fits better. Up here at the bottom of this bushing, right there, there's a little screw hole, and there's this tiny little screw that I need to put it on. Looking for where I put my screw starter. Oh, it's up here under the napkin. Okay. So again, using the handy dandy screw starter. which is a miracle. Whoever invented that, Nobel Prize, I'm telling you. All right, get this started here. All right, move it down just a hair. Okay, that's just below the bushing so that there's enough room for the thread to get through easily. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put some thread on here. Not some thread. I'm going to go ahead and put a needle in here so that I can see where to adjust this hook to get it timed up. She uses a class 66 bobbin. This is one that came with a machine, so it's got old thread on it, but just for getting it tested, that's going to be fine. Looks like there's a couple colors of thread on there, as you do, and a regular 15 by 1 needle. I'm using size 14, also known as 90. I want to show you. I'm working on a little project with needle sizes, and we're so used to, over here at least, using size 14s that 90 is the same thing. So that is in, that notes the diameter. So a size 14 needle is 0.9 millimeters across, 0.9 millimeter. So if in a needle, if it has a 5 on it, then it's another half of a 0.05 millimeter or something like that. So a size 16 is a 100, okay? And then so going down from a 14 being a 90, so you go down to a 12, that's going down a full thing, and that would be an 80. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. Learning things. So the flat side is going to go up against over here. I'm going to go ahead and loosen this, push the needle up all the way, and then tighten it. And I want to make sure that it's in there correctly. And I'm going to be threading it from the outside going in. So there should be a big groove in the needle going down this outside place. Wherever the thread is coming in, that's where the big groove is. Okay, so I have a piece of white thread that I'm just going to put through the needle, just a little piece, it's about 1 foot long, okay? And that's going to help me see where the eye of this needle is. So, for this, it would be easier if I didn't have this bobbin case in, but because this machine does not have where you can move the bracket over and take it out easily, we're going to try to do it without it. So I'm going to turn. This does not have timing marks on it or anything, but it's not that big of a deal to do it without timing marks. Okay, so I'm turning it so that on the hook, if you can see this little pointy part right here, okay, that's what I'm going to be looking at, that little point. So I'm going to turn my needle all the way down to its lowest position. I think I have something underneath here. Hang on. Okay, so for something that does not have timing marks, this is what I do. I find something that is about a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, see up there? This end of the shaft of my Dremel is just about that amount. All right, so with no timing marks, the shaft on a Dremel tool is about a 1/16 of an inch, okay? Looking here, I see that I have about 1 millimeter exposed, okay? So I'm going to want to raise this until, turning the wheel towards the front, until I have that millimeter plus about this distance exposed, right about there, okay? Give or take. At that point, looking down here, I want to rotate this little ring over enough that the point of that hook is right behind this needle, okay? And I also, at the same time, want to make sure the eye of the needle is below that hook. I think it might be, but I'm going to go ahead and cinch up this screw on the bottom first before anything moves. This screw right here, okay? Go ahead and cinch that up, holding that hook in that position, okay? And now put it straight back down, and we're going to make sure that the needle bar height is correct. I probably should not have done that because now I got that thread all tangled in there. Hang on, let me pull that out. Okay, so now that that hook is in the right position here, I still got my thread through here. Very dirty. I'm turning it straight down, and I want to see when I continue to turn it if that hook is going to catch my thread and bring it around, and it did. So I'm feeling pretty confident about that needle bar height. Again, I have like a fat millimeter of the needle bar sticking out. That seems to be about what it should be. Okay, and again, turn the wheel, make sure everything is moving smoothly, and it is. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and put my feed dogs back in. I'm going to take this needle out so I don't stab myself while I do that. Let me grab those parts. Okay, so these are going to slide straight down into this groove here. Come on, slide down for me. All right, so they are down. Let me tip her back again. And here she is. On this machine, it's back here is the place where I need to screw this on. So if I can just kind of hold them somewhat in place while I drop this off of my screw starter. Find where that hole is. I can't actually see it from this angle. I would do better if I was looking from the side where I could see it. Right there. Okay, so this is another adjustment point. If your feed dogs are too high, you can just loosen this screw here a hair, push them down. Or if they're too low, loosen it a hair and then raise them up by pushing from down below, you know. I'm actually going to put them pretty high right now because I want to get my needle plate out and get this position set. So putting her back down here, let me go ahead and get this little half moon plate. Okay, so I am setting these in here. I'm just going to put the little front screw on, not the back one right now in case I need to pull it off again, but the front one will hold it in place. Okay, so at this point I have my stitch length knob screwed in all the way back here, so I have my longest stitch. And I want to look for down here to see if my feed dogs are fitting in there side to side, and they are, you know, and actually they're fitting front to back well too. When I'm turning it, I can see they come up at a point from the front that is about the same as the point that they go back down in the back, you know. You can get as OCD as you want to getting that arranged, but I think it's good. Now these feed dogs actually look like they have a bit of flash rust on it. I don't think it is. I think it's residual from I used a big brass wheel on it because it was very, very rusty. And I think that's some of the brass wheel, you know, it leaves like a yellowish dust. I think that's what that is, but oil on it just to be sure. But since I know that the feed dog position is good, I'm going to come back down here And while the feed dogs are up, okay, while they are up here, so I know that they are sticking out as they should, I'm going to tighten up down here. So I get a 9/16 inch wrench. That is not. That is righty-tighty. Okay. Stick my screwdriver through. I want to hold this screw in this position. Behind the camera is tricky. Hang on. And while I'm holding the screwdriver, tighten up that nut. Okay. Make sure it still turns well. Come down here and do the same thing on this side. Yes, I still have my wrench the right way, holding this screw in the right position. Get that one tightened. Again, make sure it's still good. And then come down here. This is a 3/8 inch nut. Okay, so while I hold this screw in this position, tighten this nut up. And again, test it to make sure everything is still good. And it is. So I'm pretty confident about the bottom right now. And I'm going to go ahead and flip her back up. And on these machines, just letting you know, you have to have the bottom somewhat propped up while you're testing it, because the hook is lower than the cast iron part. And if you just set it down, the hook's going to feel like it's bound up, and you're just, going to get upset with yourself. So that's why I have this block underneath that one little foot. Okay, it's not underneath everything, but just that foot so that everything can still move. So there you go. Let me go ahead and put this other little plate screw in here. Come on. Okay, get this tightened up. And then put the front slide plate on. And I am just going to pop this older bobbin in, just so I have it when I'm testing. So I'm going to pop it in, pull forward. And you know what? That's feeling really tight. Really tight. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen up that bobbin case. And you can do that while it's in. Okay, so coming down here, while I can kind of pull on this thread, this screw right here, I'm going to back off. Ooh. In the newer ones, there's a groove cut right here to make this easier. Anyway, I'm backing that off. Ooh, maybe 1/3 of a turn. That still feels kind of tight. I've got to move you up. Sorry about that. That feels a little better. I must have had it really cinched in. All right, that feels good to me. I want a little bit of drag, but I don't want to have to pull hard. Again, I can adjust that again later. This slide plate, you put it in from up here, coming down, the ends of this little blade need to catch in it. Move this thread over to the opening, right there. Well, this thread is so old it just broke on me. So let me pull more thread out here. This is just nasty old thread, but for testing purposes, it'll be fine. The thread can come out through this little slot, okay, for while we're threading everything up. All right, I need to go ahead and finish putting the presser bar in. I got so sidetracked getting everything else done on here that I missed that. Let me just put this needle clamp back on. And I'm not putting the needle on quite yet. I'll do that after I have the presser foot on. And I need to put this little button back on top. So let me pop that on. Okay, so I got the button back on. I just realized I probably should put that tension release system thing back in before I do this. I have it in with all my tension parts, and I did not put that on yet, so let me grab it here. I believe it is in this little bag. It is this little U-shaped piece that's going to come in here. There's a little spring that goes on there. All right, get your act together here. There it is. Okay, on this little nub here, this spring is going to sit like that, okay? And I need to put the screw in right here that's going to hold it on so it can go like that, all right? Okay, so once again, with this cinched in all the way, you should be able to lift the lifter lever and have that thing move. So this piece and this piece should be in alignment. Why are you still loose? This is a little shouldered screw, and I have it in all the way. It just is what it is, and that's fine. As long as that works, we're good. Okay, so for the presser bar, I've got this little block here. And this is going to slide in over here on the side. Why didn't I put this in earlier? Oh my goodness, I should have. You know what? Part of me is saying you should take out the needle bar and it'll make your life easier, but part of me is saying I don't want to because I have the needle bar in the right height. Oh my goodness. I think I need to. How many times have I done this, and how many times have I had to take that needle bar back out? So if you are doing this at home, yeah, hold off on putting your needle bar in. But I can just look at this and eyeball it and remember where that setting is, you know. Just saying. Now I did put the button back in on top, so I'm just going to basically loosen this up and then just let the needle bar fall down below, which is fine for this, for what I need right now. Trying to get my screwdriver in that little slot. There it goes. Okay, so I'm loosening up that clamp so I can hold the needle bar down here and pull that up. Slide this in place over here. I'm going to put a little bit of oil in that slot to make sure everybody is moving up and down nice and happy here. Okay, now that that is in, I can push this needle bar back up. And turn this wheel. Come on. There it goes. Turn the wheel so that it's all the way down here. Make sure this is lined up down below. Lower this to the same height that was before. And go ahead and tighten that clamp back up because I'm not that bright sometimes. And if later when I'm testing it doesn't pick up the thread on the bottom, that just means I need to lower it a hair more. But I think that's right. So now, remember when I took this apart, it had a back clamping presser bar on, and we're changing it over to the side clamping one, which is going to let her use the more modern those aren't going to fit through. That's what I was going to see. The more modern presser feet. So let me get a little washer. Pop that on. Okay, and then this spring, put that on, and it's going to come through the big hole here on that block we just put in and come down. All right, down here below, the flat part is going to be on this side, and I just have a little reproduction hinged foot here, which will work very well. I'm going to go ahead, and I need to get the screw to put that on. I think one of these might work for right now. Hang on. Will this work? I think it will. I think it will. I need to get another screw out. Okay. So let me get this put on. My fingers are very oily and everything's falling. Well, that's close enough for right now. I just need to push this down so with the feed dogs in their low position, get these toes lined up, make sure this is down, push that needle bar so it's all, or presser bar so it's all the way down, and get this set screw. Come in here and get that tightened. And you know what? I completely forgot that this machine had this piece. Now, even though this does not have timing marks on it, you can eyeball it based on where the top or bottom of this is too. So, you know, there's that. I need to go ahead and get this put back on, but I think I have the wrong screw here. That's odd. Let me see if this is going to work. Yeah, that must be it. Okay, I'm going to put a little extra oil on here because that looks kind of dry to me. Okay. Just because she was so stuck taking her apart, we don't want that to happen again. All right. Does everything still move well? Yes, it does. Lift your lever up, lift your lever down. Close enough for right now. But I do need to take this back off because thread cutter. This thread cutter needs to get pushed up. The sharp side, you can see that's like a little blade, and one side of the blade is kind of grooved in. That's the sharp side. I don't use these, but they came on, so we put them back on, you know. It's just a big spring, and you need to get it pushed on there without it hurting me. Okay, I found a little knurled screw that will go on down there. So now that I have that set up here at the top, can I get this screwed in? And if you remember, this was pushed in all the way, and this spring has relaxed. It was very, very compressed for a long period of time. Put some oil on those threads. And I'm just going to put this in so I have about 3/8 of an inch of threads exposed, which is usually enough to give you a nice snap here. You know, if you need to adjust it more or less as you're sewing, you can. That's fine. I put the back plate back on. I'm going to go ahead and put the needle on and just see if running thread through, it's going to still pick up that bobbin thread. And if it does, then I'll close up the nose. So, getting this so that the flat part is going to go up against here. Let me raise this up. Push the needle up all the way. Okay, I'm just going to grab a little bit of thread to pop on. It's not, obviously there's no tension or anything, it's just to see if I'm going to be able to pick up this bobbin. Okay, I'm going to raise up these feed dogs, put that needle thread underneath, and just turn the wheel towards me and hope that this comes back up with a bobbin thread. And it does. It does come up with a bobbin thread. So I feel good about that. Go ahead and pull this thread back out. And I'm going to go ahead and put the front plate on and then the tension. Well, actually, I should put the tension unit on first. I should, for propriety and all of that. So let me get those pieces organized. All right, so she has the very basic tension mechanism here. Get this screwed in. Oops, I have this the wrong way. That needs to be down below. Hang on. Okay, with that in place, I'll go ahead and put my 2 discs on, curved side together, my little tension release pin. I need to get that pushed in. Okay. And then is this little washer with the divider, the beehive spring, and this. And you know, this is not feeling right to me. I think I needed to have that spring up above. I do believe. Once I can get this on, okay. Let me loosen this whole thing up, move that spring up, screw it back in, and now it has downward springing. Actually, that's kind of excessive. Let me set it right here, I think. Okay, better. All right, let me go ahead and get the front plate put on. So the little shouldered screw goes on top up here. Up here, okay. So this can push on and then fall down, and that is too tight. Let me back that out. It needs to be loose enough that it can fall behind it, you know. And then there is a little, oh my goodness, which one was I? I think it was this one. Thumb screw that goes down below here. So that looks good. Okay, I still have to put together my bobbin winder and then put the belt guard on. But I really just want to see if she's going to sew first. So once again, I'm going to thread her up, but this time I can see how the tension is. So it's through this hook here. Okay, down between the tension discs, up over this spring, and under that little hook. And then up here through this thread take-up lever. Okay. Down below here, you can just usually snap it through this little loop. Come down around that thread guide, and then can you see down below, I'm going to thread it from the outside going in. Okay, I'm going to go grab a little piece of fabric. All right, so I just want to get an idea of what is going on. Something is not right. Do you see how much I'm struggling here? I need to go back and double check. Let me loosen this up here, make sure. It wasn't that. Okay, let me double check what's inside here. I want you to see what's causing all of my issues. This screw down here, which is underneath, somehow unscrewed itself. And I don't even know how that happened because I thought I had it cinched up all the way at the top. I bet that's why they changed this design. But in order to get back under here and put that screw in, and when I put it in next time, I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite in here just to keep it from wanting to unscrew itself. I have to pull all of this off to get to it. So I will not burden you with having to watch me do that, but just know that's what my issue is. I wanted to show you, I'm not loosening this because that hook position is correct. So I'm just taking this screw off so that can dangle off to the side. And then I have to loosen this little set screw here. Lovely, huh? Pull this off. Take off this screw. Pull this whole thing off if I can. If this will let me, or do I have to take this off again too? Oh, please no. I think I do. Let's just say I'm glad that they did not continue with this version of this design. Okay. Anyway, pulling this off, turning around. I'm going to pull this screw out, put just a touch of Loctite on those threads and put it back in because the way that this is moving, it's just going to want to undo itself again, and that will just be no fun for anybody. Okay, she's back together. Everything's moving as it should, but I'm going to leave this overnight so that Loctite can kind of set up where it needs to. And, you know, call it a night. Shoot, it's 8 o'clock at night already. What am I even doing still over here? And then I'll come back tomorrow and finish her up. There's not a whole lot left to do at this point. Okay, so welcome to the next morning. Threaded her up again, and everything is working great. So that is good. But I still need to put together the bobbin winder and put that in the belt guard back on. So let me go ahead, get her moved out of the way, and get those parts out here. Okay, so lots of parts on these old bobbin winders. I did put the new tire on, so that's lovely. Okay, getting started here. I'm going to start with this screw, no shoulder, just a nice short little screw, and get it started right here. Just a bit, not too tight. Then this big one that's mostly shoulder, from this side I'm going to get it threaded in, and I want to make sure it's not binding up. Okay, and then with this one in, come back. I'm going to put this right about in the middle here and really tighten this up, and then take this back off so that that is now in the right position. All right, so now I have this part. There's 3 springs in this bobbin winder. This is the biggest one, has a tail that sticks out here. Okay, down here there's a little hole that sticky out part goes into. Sticky out part, whatever the technical word. And I'm bringing this over, and it's going to come down into this notch right down there. Try to hold it in place. And it goes up here like that, so you can see my little tail there. All right, I'm going to hold that, carefully smushing it together so that this tail isn't going to pop back out of place. And then grab the bolt that we were using just before. Carefully get that in. Get started turning it without losing that little springs position. Oh, come on, get in there. Okay. All right, so now this should pop back up with a lot of springiness, and it does. I'm gonna make sure that's nice and flat. Nothing is bound up. Okay. Okay, now this is the next spring I'm gonna use. It's the smaller one. This one that has 3 wraps is for the follower. This one that has, well, I guess that has 3 also on that side. It has 2 over there. But that one is more lightweight. Okay, I'm going to put this in here. I'm just sticking my prong in the center hole. I like it there so that the other little prong is sticking out. Okay, so this piece has a hole in it too that goes over the top of that spring. Oh, Marie, put that back in. I'm going to scoot that over there to the right. Why not? Why am I having such a hard time getting that lined up? There it goes. Okay, now there's this screw that has a little shoulder on it. I'm going to get it started in here. I should have used my screw starter. Hang on. Hang on a sec. Let me get a grip on this screw. Oh my goodness. All right, got the grip on the screw. That is still on the spring. And I'm getting this started. Okay, it's not super tight. I can still move it. Now I actually think I screwed that in too much because it needs to just barely be caught in those threads because I need to be able to move this up and over this part here while I'm moving this down. Oh, that's not going to fit on this one. Sometimes they do, but on this one it is not. Oh, there it went. Okay, see this little pointy part right here? That's what that little mouth needs to set over. So now that I'm holding it in place, I'm going to tighten this screw down. Okay, so if you go like that, up, down, up. And I actually cleaned and polished this the best I could. It was really bad and did not want to become super shiny, but honestly, she's 100 and what? Almost 120 years old, so looking a bit distinguished is fine with me. So that spring is working well. So as the bobbin fills up, it pushes this up and it pops away. So that is good. Okay. We have little cams. They're pretty small on this one. There's a tiny screw here. I just set it there so I wouldn't lose it. But I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up just a little bit more, just to make sure that that is going to fit. And set this bolt in. This is the adjustable one, the eccentric one, but I'm just setting that in there right now so that those holes are going to be lined up while I get that cinched in. Okay, so first I'm going to put this little spring washer on, curving up. And then I believe this one had the gears exposed. Sometimes on some of them they're this way, but I'm pretty sure this one had them exposed. Set that out there. Get this big bolt. You know what? Let's throw some oil on there just for fun. And get this started through. I want to make sure that's going to set right. There it goes. It's snapped in. On the back here is a little square nut that I'm just hand tightening right now. This screw, because it's not centered, it has the ability, depending on the direction of this little slot, how far or close it is to these gears. So if you're turning it and it's really, really tight and it's not wanting to turn, it must be bound up. you can rotate this screw until it feels good. You don't want it too far away. There's like a happy medium where there's less gap and more movement. And they're all a little bit different. So even it looks like mine's going to be in the horizontal position where everything works well. Yours might be straight up and down. It just is what it is. But holding this screw in that position, I'm going to need to go ahead and get this tightened up. So remember, mine is horizontal. So I can come back and check that. Oops, I can feel it wanting to turn as I turn it from the front. Go back, double check. You know what I'm going to need to do is hold it carefully. This. Where I can keep an eye on it while I turn here. Okay. Oh, it turned anyway. I must have had this on upside down. All right, horizontal. Let's see if that's still good, huh? Yes, it's spinning freely. All is well. This is really tight, so that's good. Final piece is the little follower. On the spring, at least usually, one side sticks out a lot farther and one side is just straight under the circle. The side that is straight under the circle is going to go in one of these holes. Again, I'm picking the middle because I like it there. It depends on how strong your spring is and everything, but in general, I pick the middle. All right, so with this tail pushed into that little slot, I'm going to set this over and just kind of push it over. And this shouldered screw is going to go in there. Excuse me. And you have to kind of manhandle it a bit because the spring is fighting against you at this point. I want to get this cinched in all the way, and you should be able to have that click. That looks like it's slightly off. You see that? How it's not really close down here, but it is close enough. And you can see the groove on there. Well, at least I can. There's a little mark on here that's where it was before. That's where it was traveling before. So I think we are good. I am going to go ahead and put this wheel up against my little polishing wheel just to see it go back and forth and make sure it's working well. And it is. So the very last thing is to take this over, and with this screw up on top, I need to screw it on right behind my balance wheel. Okay, so I've got it screwed on, but there's one more adjustment. That very first bolt we put on up here, I'm going to loosen it. Oh, I need to get a different screwdriver. Hang on. Okay, I've loosened that bolt, so this has movement now. So when I'm engaging it, okay, so that this is all the way, I want to make sure that this is in a position that the little rubber tire is going to turn, okay, without it being too far away or too bound up. So knowing that that works right here, I know my table's wiggling, come back and tighten up this screw, and I think that's about where it was when I took it apart. So this is my universal treadle cabinet here. I'm going to pull the belt up, slide it over here. Come on, getting it under that bobbin. This is a hollow little belt, so it should go through. Okay, let me get a little block on her so that I can engage that belt, and we'll try to get her to sew. Now she does have a little bit of thread left in that bobbin. down there, and I'm just going to use that in the beginning. There's not much, so I should use it up pretty soon, and then we can see how the bobbin winder is going to work. But first of all, I'm putting white thread on top. She does have a new needle in. And threading her over here. She is so pretty. And that is in. Okay, I am not at all sure that I have the tensions balanced correctly in the top or bottom. We're just going to give it a go here. And she's rocking because I just have her up on a couple blocks of wood. And it looks like her bottom tension is looser than her top, and I think I have her top actually too tight. For some reason, this is a brand new needle, but for some reason it's acting like it's not. Now she's going to be going back into her original cabinet. Oop, I just ran out of thread. That's what the problem was. See that? I just used up that bobbin. She's going to be going back into her original treadle cabinet when she gets home, so you don't have to worry about her rocking around then. But let's wind this bobbin here. Okay, so from the inside, stick the thread through the bobbin so the little tail comes out. And I'm just going to go ahead and put it on here first. Oops, have to pop it up first. And you rotate the bobbin until you hear it snap in place. There's a little hole that should snap on, and there it goes. And then I bring it down, okay? Why is nothing working well today? Now, this part comes through the fork. You cannot see that. All right. So I have the thread going through the bobbin in here, okay? Now I'm going to hold on to this tail, put that through that fork, through this little part here, back that off, release the clutch, and get it started. I'm going to clip that. All right, hold her, keep her from wagging around. I just put this cabinet on a slightly different piece of flooring, and it's not as level here as it was before. All right, you can see that it's going back and forth the right amount of distance. It's loading very evenly. That's good for now, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. That engaged up very nicely. Here's my bobbin. It's wound very evenly. And now I'm going to put it back into the little area right here. Now I put it in. There's a slot there. You pull the thread through, and then there's a little groove, and it comes back up there. And I close this so the thread is sticking out that little hole, okay? I'm going to switch this out and put black thread on top. That way I'll be able to see the contrast very easily of which side is tighter than the other. Okay. Pull this up. And I will not make you watch me thread the needle again. Alrighty, got myself a new scrap of fabric. I'm going to pull that bobbin up. Set this in and get it started. She is so quiet that most of the noise is just my foot pedal down there. I need to tighten this up a bit. Let's try going back the other way. I have her at her longest stitch right now. Well, a little better, but not much. You know what? I am going to actually, instead of tightening this up so much, because I think it's at a good amount, the bobbin seems to be the one that is too tight. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen up that little screw that you can get to through this slot here just a bit. Okay, I think we've got it. I changed out the needle. Even though the other one was brand new, who knows? Who knows what's wrong with it, huh? But But she is lovely. Look at that pretty stitch there. And again, the holes. No, that feels loose again. You know what I'm wondering is if this beehive spring is too compressed. I just had to turn it back on to tell you why the tension was not working well. I replaced that spring, but it really didn't have anything to do with the beehive spring. I did not have this spring positioned so that it was going to give enough impact, you know. That and where the bobbin goes in, I put a little bit of oil just around that ring at the bottom of the bobbin case to make sure that it was turning as smoothly as possible. Let's see, I flipped my little piece over here. But now she is sewing a perfectly balanced little stitch. You know, it's hard to tell in the middle of all of that, but she is. And yeah, I feel really good about that. There's so many pieces working together. Sometimes it's hard to tell exactly what it is, but I would say it was a combination of making sure the bobbin spinned really freely, this little spring, repositioning it so it had a much stronger upward motion, and replacing this one just because it was a little bit crushed in from before. So anyway, now it's time for her glamour shot.
Forgotten and alone, I touched her rusty wheels and knew I'd take her home. I brought her to my farm in an Amish neighborhood where simple living's valued, she'd be loved and understood. I put her on a treadle stand and coaxed her wheel to turn. I felt her joy and easing my study and concern. I cleaned her and I oiled her, showed her off to all my friends, repaired the hurts of years, and let her sew again.